Welcome to the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the last episode of Analog Artisans. That was really fun to do. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, but first, I want to talk a little bit about the positives and negatives that I have when it comes to photography and just like online presence in general. If you don't want to listen to this, there's going to be timestamps down below, but I do have some notes, but I'm mostly just going to speak directly to you without any cuts or anything, just so you know exactly how I'm feeling about everything. I think I got a little overboard with the way that I presented myself online because a lot of the time people would be like, oh, you're so honest and I love how real you are, blah, 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 you're so authentic. And I just think I took that to a level where it didn't need to be. Arista 100 can fuck off, Foam Pan can fuck off, and I'm never buying it again. And I don't have very strong opinions about many things, but the strong opinions that I do have, I tend to just crush down into the ground like a fucking jackhammer. So I just wanted to say that I'm going to be better about voicing my opinions on certain topics. And when I do, I'm not going to be so harsh or crass when it comes to actually voicing that opinion. Because a lot of the time that I did voice those opinions, it was coming from a place of jealousy and a place of just not being where I want to be. So I would take that out on certain people or certain companies. And that's not the best look because you might have some people that are saying, thanks for doing that, or I appreciate your authenticity. And that's probably a very small sample when it comes to the overall audience that actually watches you. So I don't want new people coming to this channel and just seeing me talking shit on everyone. So I just wanted to first and foremost say I'm sorry for being so harsh to certain things like Moment and Arista. Instead of saying Arista 100 sucks donkey dick, never buy it, maybe now I'll say you can use Arista 100, but keep in mind that it might have spots on your negatives, and here's a remedy to make that better. So I just wanted to address that first of all because I know I've upset a lot of people in the past, and I just want to be better about that because I don't want you to come to my channel and leave feeling hatred for certain companies or people. The other things that I want to talk about in this video are going to be much more lighthearted and won't leave you feeling with a bad taste in your mouth, but I've been thinking a lot about just gear and everything that I've been talking about with the last video and the Zenitar lens, and Ribs over at Doing Film Things actually came out with a video the other day talking about the Bokeh Crutch, and that just means paying attention to bokeh and depth of field and not worrying about anything else. And I think I got that in my head when I first discovered large format, and more specifically when I discovered Bryan Schutmaat's work, because he has very thin focus area in most of his pictures, and I got obsessed with finding that look and trying to replicate it. So I would buy Carl Zeiss lens from 1960s. I would be looking at Aero Ektar lenses. I would be looking at Bull projection lenses, buying speed graphics and all this random shit to try to replicate that look. And what I wasn't putting into my thoughts about everything is that Bryan Schutmaat has been doing this for years, and he's a master with the lenses that he uses. He's not using some magical lens, or, I mean, he might be using a Zenitar lens, who knows? I don't really care. I want to be better about practicing with what I have and mastering that instead of just relying on the Bokeh Crutch like Ribs was talking about in his video. Because anyone can shoot a portrait wide open and make it look cool. Everyone can take a headshot, put it down to 2.4 on the 105 Pentax, and it looks pretty dreamy and pretty good. I don't want to be that guy that does that. I want to be a more Bryan Schutmaat version, because the reasons that his pictures are amazing are not because of the bokeh, not because of the separation, it's not because of the sharpness. It's because he's mastered that camera and lens. He's mastered everything about it, and he can probably set it up with his eyes closed. He can probably take a picture with his eyes closed. And when you can master that, you can finally focus on your subject. You can focus on composition, making them feel comfortable. And that's how you're going to get the pictures that resonate with people. And so I want to be better about that in general. And I also want to be better about just going out and shooting when I feel compelled to. Because lately I've been thinking that, oh, I only need to go out at golden hour or a couple hours before the sun sets because the light's going to be the best. But when I look back on some of my favorite photos, specifically with the car project, a lot of the pictures that I took were harsh light, middle of the day light, not the best lighting conditions, like this one of Dave and his car door. This was taken at like 1 o'clock in the worst light you could possibly get. And it's one of my favorite pictures that I've ever taken. So I want to be better about not being so specific and choosy with when I go out to shoot, because you never know when you're going to find a subject or a potential photo. So you just need to be ready at all times. And that's how I'm going to go about this project for the foreseeable future. Just always have my camera on me and be ready to take a photo when the opportunity strikes. Yesterday, I took a couple pictures of Emma on our new patio because I wanted to be a little bit better about documenting just present day stuff and stuff in my life, because going back to Bryan Schutmaat, he likes to take pictures of his nephews, and I've seen a couple of pictures that he's taken, and he posted one recently where it's just a picture of his two nephews, one sitting and one standing in front of a tree, and he took that on a large format camera. And I just want to be a little bit better about taking pictures of the loved ones in my life and the people I really care about, because, I mean, that's really all that matters when it comes down to it. It's just the people in your life, the people that support you, and the people that love you. And when you have an opportunity to do that and also just practice technique and movements and exposure and practice everything with the large format camera, so when you go out to actually use it for a series or a project, you're just going to be better overall. This headshot that I took of Emma, I really wanted to practice some swing movements. So when you're using a large format camera, obviously if you have the lens straight on and you have an angled head, you're only going to be getting one eye in focus. And the beauty of a large format camera is that you can swing the front standard left and right to change the plane of focus. So if you're focusing like this, you can change the plane of focus by swinging the front standard and changing that so you can get both eyes in focus. And that's what I did with this portrait. And I want to be a little bit better about when I set up people for portraits for projects or analog artisans, I want to try to pose them like this and really get that that look that I fell in love with when it comes to Bryan Schutmaat portraits or just large format portraits in general, because it's not always about having an f2.8 on large format. This was with a 5.6 lens, and you can see that it creates a really shallow look, and that mostly has to do with just swinging the lens and tilting the lens a little bit as well. And the last thing I want to talk about is these portraits of Jason that I took. I was in Columbia, Illinois, and of course I went out at sunset, and I didn't find anything that I wanted to shoot. I couldn't find anyone for the project, and I was driving home and the sun was pretty much set, and I saw this car in a McDonald's parking lot, and on the back of the car was actually a paintbrush and like a paint container, and I looked over and there was a gentleman painting a sign on a window. So I decided to U-turn it like a crazy NASCAR evasive maneuver and pulled into the parking lot, and I told him about the project, and he was down to take a portrait. And I just wanted to show you guys these pictures because I like them a lot, and this was not with the Zenitar lens. This was with a newer, more modern Rodenstock lens, and you can see the look that you get with that. And these are the types of pictures that I want to make. I want to make portraits of people that they're just represented their best and completely in their element. And I just really fell in love with this picture because it's something that I would want to look at to be inspired. And those are the kinds of pictures that I want to make. I want to be inspired when I look at my photos, and I want to be inspired to go out and take more photos. So I just really liked this full body shot with a little bit of the car in the background, and you can see that it's at f5.6. So the bokeh is pretty good, and it's not completely blown out. You can still get some details, and that's the look that I want in the future of my photography. And then the portrait, I didn't use any swing or anything or movements. As you can see, the right eye of his is a little out of focus, but it's not too much because the fall off is a little less drastic compared to the f2.8 lens. So that's another benefit with having an f5.6 is obviously the depth of field is going to be greater. So you can have a little leeway in your focus and not have to worry about being so spot on. But the look between the more modern lens and the Zenitar, there's no fringing, there's no flaring. The contrast is better, the sharpness is better. Overall, I'm just really happy with the way that this lens looks. And yeah, I'm looking forward to using it more and mastering it more and not worrying so much about just gear and f2.8 and bokeh and all that stuff that doesn't matter. I just want to pay attention to the subject, the compositions, the lighting, and go from there. And I think I'll be able to make my best work. But hope you guys enjoyed this little video. I know it was like a therapy session, but I just want to be honest and authentic with you guys and tell you exactly what I'm going through and thinking about along my photography journey. I posted on Twitter that I've only taken like 120 something sheets on large format in almost a year. So obviously I'm still a beginner with all this, and I appreciate you guys following along, and I look forward to making many more videos and many more photos to come. So appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good one, and see you later.